Hello and welcome to Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. Today is the 31st of August, 2023. Today we're going to be talking about this is episode 7, by the way. I should have said that up front. So this is episode 7 of Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about everyday carry and self-defense and the self-defense mindset. And you're probably thinking, what does a self-defense mindset and everyday carry have to do with liberty and gun rights? Well, it has everything to do about liberty and gun rights because as a legal gun owner in South Carolina, or anywhere for that matter, wherever you live, wherever you're listening to this podcast from, you have taken the effort to get your concealed carry permit or CCW or whatever it is your particular state uh, calls it. And you probably had to have a FBI background check done, and they took your fingerprints to verify that you are indeed a lawful citizen of the United States in the state that you live in, and you have a concealed carry permit, and you can legally carry a firearm either concealed or on your person, visible, as you go through your day. So, who is my target audience for the Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast? My target audience is you, the legally armed citizen, the mom, the dad, school teacher, the realtor, the doctor, the electrician, whatever your vocation is, or however you make your money to pay your bills or whatever. You're a you're a legal gun owner, and you are living life, and you have chosen to um, prepare yourself for self defense and defense of your family. So we're going to be talking about what everyday carry is, those tools that you choose to carry, which is why they call it EDC to begin with. Those are the tools that you hopefully train with and take with you in the case of a um, violent act, or if you or your loved ones get attacked during your daily life, going to and from work, going to school, the library, going out paying bills, going to work, whatever. Um, so we're gonna kind of delve into that a little bit today. So today I want to talk about the necessity of everyday carry. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Palmetto Concealed Carry T-shirt, or my polo shirt rather. I helped, or I did found. I'm the founder of Palmetto Concealed Carry. I think we're about. I don't know. We've been around for about 10 years or maybe longer. We have 8,000 members all over our state, and we have a Facebook group called Palmetto Concealed Carry, and we have one that's called Palmetto Concealed Carry Low Country. I think in my last podcast I actually showed you the Facebook groups. But anyway, I'm sporting my shirt today, and I want to encourage you to join that group if you haven't. It doesn't cost anything. Just sign up. So anyway, I want to talk about the necessity of everyday carry. In the scope of this podcast episode, and in the CWP community, it means that we carry our defensive handgun and other items on or about our person while we're away from home. We also have those tools available to us while we're at home, and hopefully they are nearby where they're readily accessible in case you need them. Sometimes when we're at home, we look at our homes as our castle, and we inherently feel safe. And we think that some of us think that nothing can happen to us because we're at home, and we have a expectation of safety when we're at our house. So why is everyday carry necessary? We want to be prepared to defend ourselves and our loved ones from potential predators and violent acts that could cause serious bodily injury and or death. So before we can get into our EDC gear, let's talk about something much more important. Our mindset. Do we have a self-defense mindset? In our quiet time, have we thought through specific scenarios in which we might be faced with? What are some of those scenarios? On your travels to work and home, what routes do you take? Are they the same route every single day, or do you switch it up? Do you go to the gym on a regular basis or grocery stores? What about mall parking lots? Have you thought about what you're going to do if you're threatened or faced with a dangerous situation? The self defense mindset and situational awareness go hand in hand. You need to understand that these are violent times that we live in. You are not being paranoid, you're being prepared. Let me say that again. You're not being paranoid, you're being prepared. How many times have you been asked, why do you carry a gun? We always have a family member or a close friend that when they find out that you're carrying a weapon, a self defense weapon, they're like, why do you feel like you need a gun? Are you paranoid? And the answer is we're being prepared. We're preparing ourselves for the eventuality that we might need to defend ourselves or our loved ones. There's a saying, chance favors a prepared mind. Carry a defensive handgun because it's called a force multiplier. What if you're a single mother with two children in tow? You're 5'4" and weigh 135 pounds. You're not a karate expert. Your day is full of tasks that includes taking care of your children. The predator that is watching you is probably bigger and stronger than you. Do you look like a victim to others? Are you walking across the parking lot with your smartphone in front of you and not paying attention to your surroundings? Are there people in your immediate area that are watching you? If so, how can you put more distance between yourself and them? What is your defensive plan? So, I want you to do something. The next time you're out in public, in a parking lot, or let's say a shopping mall, and you're sitting down at a coffee shop or store, drinking a cup of coffee, reading a book, whatever it is you might be doing to pass time and relaxing, look up from that book, magazine, or smartphone or tablet and just start looking around. Just start observing people around you. How many of those people are looking at their smartphones or not paying attention to their surroundings? Excuse me, my nose itches. But anyway, yeah, just be a people watcher for a few minutes and see what the people around you are doing. I think you will find out that a lot of people are clueless about their surroundings, what's going on. They're just going about their daily tasks, shopping, getting food to eat, hanging out with friends. Sometimes they have their children with them, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're escorting their moms, dads, parents, grandparents, uncles, cousins, whoever. They're just at the mall having a good time. Self defense of ourselves and our family members go hand in hand. Are you prepared in case someone kicks in your front door while you're home? What is your plan? Running out the back door with your phone and calling 911 could be an option. What if there are multiple actors and your route to the outside is cut off? Have you thought about that? Do you have easy access to your defensive handgun? What will your family members do in case of a home invasion? Have you sat down with them and spoke to them and put together a plan? If you haven't done that, I would seriously recommend you doing that sometime soon. Please don't assume that nothing can happen to you or your family. Your home is your castle, but it's your right and duty to defend it and everybody in it. I think you will agree with me on that. Waiting until it happens is too late. You'll respond at your lowest level of training. If you have not trained for this situation, you and your family could be in serious risk. For purposes of this podcast episode, I am merely scratching the surface. I have an entire series of articles that talk about self defense of oneself and having a personal and family defense plan. Now let's talk about our EDC gear. What are some of the things you could carry to use as defensive tools? A defensive handgun, blade of some sort, flashlight with a striking edge to be used as a defensive tool, Kubotan of sorts. What about mace? What else can you think of that could be used as a defensive weapon or tool? Anything in your home can be used as a defensive weapon. Chair, dining room chair, frying pan, pot of boiling water, uh, the thing that makes tea. What's that called? The thing that blows and whistles when it's the water's ready and it's hot. Kitchen knives. Just about anything you can pick up and use as a force multiplier can be a defensive tool. Obviously, you can't carry your dining room chair with you or your frying pan when you're away from your home. Hopefully, you don't. That would be interesting, though. Are you in the habit of gearing up before you leave your house each day? Do you have a defensive handgun that you are comfortable carrying? If it's too heavy to carry, you might be tempted to leave it in the safe. I have to admit, there are days that I just think it's too much of a hassle because there's so many places you can't carry legally. Um, and I'm talking about South Carolina. Wherever you live, there's limitations as to where you can carry your defensive handgun, whether it's open carry or concealed carry. And sometimes it's just a hassle. And you're thinking, you know what, I'm just going to leave it at home today. I'll leave it in my safe, which makes your defensive handgun useless. Then it becomes a safe queen. I think that's what they call them, right? And what's the saying? It's better to have it than not need it, than to need it and not have it. That's called one of those oh shit moments. Do you have a defensive handgun that you're comfortable carrying? If it's too heavy to carry, you might be tempted to leave it in the safe. Do you have a belt that's heavy enough, that's designed to carry the weight of your handgun? There are several Second Amendment accessory stores. Most of them are online, but there are some that you can. There are leather shops you can go to where you live, gun stores, gun shops, ranges. Some of them carry, you know, thick 1 inch or 2 inch belts that are designed to not only hold your clothes up, but carry the weight of a firearm should you decide to carry one or able to carry one because of your CWP. So it's important to have not only a good, thick, sturdy leather belt, but it's also important to have a sturdy leather holster or Kydex holster that is going to hold the weight of the weapon and that can, I would highly recommend having a level 1 or level 2 uh, holster for your weapon so that somebody can't just walk up behind you and rip it out of your holster and then use it on you or others, right? Some people have holsters that it takes very little effort to get it out of the holster, which is not recommended. Let's see. Depending on your wardrobe, you may be forced with some tactical decisions on how to carry that defensive handgun. This especially applies to women. Specific accessories and carry methods are outside of the scope of this episode. But if you're a woman shooter, you are not necessarily going to want to strap that thing on your hip, especially if you're like wearing a dress, you're in professional business attire, pantsuit, or slacks and a blouse and a jacket or whatever. You might consider ankle holster to carry your defensive firearm. Maybe a shoulder holster. Maybe a purse that's designed to carry a defensive handgun. Please don't carry a handgun in your purse and not have it in a holster. That's just a disaster waiting to happen. Remember that whatever you carry, you should obtain quality training from people who know their trade. I can't stress enough the importance of firearms training. And for those of you that handle your defensive firearm as a magic talisman, i.e., you've purchased a handgun, you've shot 50 rounds through it, you've gone through your concealed carry permit process, you've learned, the local laws, the gun laws in your city, state, county, and you take that thing home and you put it in your dresser drawer and forget about it. You're like, hey, I've got a handgun, I've got my CWP. It's magical to keep bad things from happening to us. Yeah, that's not how it works. You need to train with that firearm. You need to get not only will you learn things at your CWP course, but you need to check out your Second Amendment community around you. Go to local gun stores, go talk to CWP instructors, ask them who a quality firearms trainer would be in your area and sign up for some classes. They have basic, intermediate, and advanced courses that you can take, and you can learn all manner of things about how to carry your weapon, how to handle yourself with your weapon, how to shoot from behind a cover, what the difference between cover and a barricade is, all sorts of information that's very important for you to know. So get some training. Whatever you do, get some training. How many people do you know that go out and get their CWP and a defensive handgun to only leave it in their nightstand? I bet you've got family members that do that. I pray that you don't do that. Remember that the use of deadly force in most states requires you to be in fear of serious bodily injury and or death. Let me repeat myself. Remember that the use of deadly force in most states requires you to be in fear of serious bodily injury and or death. Every incident does not necessarily meet that criteria. When you think you need to reach for your defensive handgun, you need to make sure you can articulate why you pointed a deadly weapon at someone or pull the trigger. So I'm going to stop right there. And if you're in South Carolina, I want to show you a couple of books. Here's one called South Carolina Gun Law, Shaw's 2023. This is by Stephen Fulton Shaw, PhD, ESQ. Contributors are Roy Harmon, James Patrick Kelly, Robert Merting, Sergeant G. Curtis Moore, Major Michael M. Nunn, Henry R. Schlein. I probably just really screwed that up. Forward by William Jeffrey Jeff Young, South Carolina Deputy Attorney General. I'll hold this up to the camera so you can see it. South Carolina Gun Law, Shaw's 2023. This is an up-to-date manual on gun laws. If you don't know what the gun laws are, I'd encourage you to get this book and figure out what they are. I mean, you get some basic information from your CWP course. With the South Carolina gun laws, where the gun laws in your state are pretty comprehensive, and they're not going to be able to cover all that information. Remember when I said about you have to be in fear of serious bodily injury and or death before you can use deadly force? Well, here's an excellent book called The Law of Self-Defense Principles by attorney Andrew F. Branca. Foreword by Massad Ayoob. We all know who that guy is, right? So here's the book, Self-Defense Principles. It's not a very big book, but it tells you a lot of important information. Here's a magazine that I like to read, and I subscribe to it. It's called Concealed Carry Magazine. It's part of USCCA, or United States Concealed Carry Association. You get one of these every 3 months, and it's chock full of information, things that you as a concealed carry or open carry legal gun owner need to know. I learn something every time I read it, and I read it cover to cover every time I get one. All right, the legal system and law enforcement are not your friend. Let me say that again. The legal system and law enforcement are not your friend. Once the self-defense incident is over and the smoke is cleared, your toughest challenge will be in front of you. The legal system is not necessarily geared towards protecting your constitutional rights. Let me say that again. The legal system is not necessarily geared towards protecting your constitutional rights. Having said that, I encourage you to find a Second Amendment friendly attorney near you that is capable of defending your rights, should you find yourself facing the legal system. I also would encourage you to sign up for self-defense insurance, such as through USCCA. US Law Shield is another self-defense insurance company. CCW Safe is another one. Do your research and sign up for the one that you feel confident about. Talk to all your Second Amendment community friends, trainers, whoever. Say, hey, do you have self-defense insurance? You'll be surprised how many people who are legal gun owners have no idea what that is. They have not even thought about what happens after a self-defense incident. Oh my God, somebody threatened my life or the life of my family, and I had to use deadly force. Now it's just all over, except for the cleanup, calling the ambulance and sending the bad person to the hospital, or God forbid you get shot, that is a possibility. If you get involved in a self-defense incident, you could very well get hurt yourself. But I'm here to tell you that your nightmare has just begun, because now you're going to have to face the legal system in your area. And believe it or not, our legal system is not necessarily favorable towards those of us that are legal gun owners that carry for self-protection. So these self-defense insurance companies are geared and prepared to provide you with the protection you need once you're working your way through the legal system. Remember that your chances of getting arrested after a self-defense incident is very likely. Local law enforcement does not know you, and they don't realize that you're the victim of the good guy. Now, when you call 911, you need to let them know that you had to use deadly force because you were in fear of serious bodily injury and or death, and that you're the victim. And you're calling for help. You're calling for an ambulance. And that's all you need to say. You don't need to say anything else. And talk to your attorney about that. Hey, what do I say when the police arrive? They will tell you what you need to say and what you need not to say. So local law enforcement, they have to sort through all the details and put together an investigation on the scene. The least you say to them, the better off you will be. I will also say that when the local law enforcement gets there and responds to the incident, no matter where you're at or what happened, do not be standing there with a gun in your hand. Let me repeat that. When local law enforcement responds, they're not going to know that you're the good guy. They're not going to know that you're the victim. Either put the thing on the ground or put it in your holster, cover it up, but don't have it in your hand, because you're just asking for a world of hurt, because that law enforcement officer, he wants to go home at the end of his or her shift. And if you're standing there with a gun in your hand, they're going to think you're the bad guy, and they may take action. And it might be action that you don't want to be on the receiving end of. The self-defense insurance will help you with your bond once you're arrested and wind up in jail. Your second a friendly attorney will be able to help you every step of the way. Listen to what they tell you and only say what they tell you to say. I can't stress that enough. So, as I said at the beginning of this episode, this podcast and the episodes therein, they're not geared towards self-defense experts, right? Self-defense trainers, um, CWP instructors, professionals in the Second Amendment community. It's geared towards people like me and you. Um, I don't care what your profession is. We all have to work, right? We all have to go out in the community and apply our trade to whatever it is that we do, so that we can make money legally and pay our bills. We all have to pay bills. We all hate our jobs. Well, they say that if you like what you do or you love what you do, then it's not a job. And I hope you're one of those people that you just enjoy going to work. My wife's a special ed teacher at Goose Creek High School. She loves her job. She can't wait. She was off for the summer for 3 months or 2.5 months. She could not wait to get back to work to her kids. And I think that is so awesome. And I hope you're one of those people. But you might be like me, and you just freaking have to go to work, and you may work a regular job and a part-time job like I do, and you just do what you got to do to make ends meet, right? I think that's probably most of us. So this is episode 7, and I'll be working on the content for episode 8. And if you like something that you heard, or if you have questions, you can write to me at Liberty Gun Rights Podcast at proton.me. Liberty Gun Rights Podcast at proton.me. You see up here on the screen, I got Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast, uh, Spotify. It's a Spotify link, and I think I showed it to you earlier in an earlier episode. But you can go to Spotify and just search for it. Go to Spotify, go to podcasts, and look for, they're all in alphabetical order, I think. So you can just look up Liberty, and you'll see the American flag, and there it is. And this will be episode 7, and I'm gonna be working on episode 8 shortly. And I want you to know that you are important to me. You're part of the Second Amendment community. You're part of the CWP community, and you're being able to protect yourself and educate yourself on what to do in case of a bad situation happening. I want you to be able to protect yourself and your family, and I want you to be able to get home to your family every day without anything bad happening to you. I know that's my goal. So if you have an everyday carry loadout, as we like to call it, your weapon, your holster, your belt, you may carry a mace. You may have a bladed instrument, a knife. You may have a flashlight with a beveled edge on it that you can use for defensive strikes to get people off of you and away from you. If you carry something else in your loadout or in your everyday carry, send me an email and let me know. Also, I'm always looking for guest speakers. I'm looking for guest speakers that want to talk about um, um, I'm losing my thought. People that make their own ammunition. What in the world is that called? Anyway, reloading. That's right. I have several friends that are real big on reloading. They like to reload their own ammunition. They go out and get their own primers and their own bullets and what have you, and they've got a reloading machine, and they sit there and crank out their own ammunition. And I know it used to be cheaper once upon a time to do that, and it seems like after COVID and the pandemic and all of that, and our illustrious commander in chief did some things that made it very difficult to to get those parts and pieces or supplies that people need that do reloading to get them. But I think some of those problems kind of eased up, and now it's a little easier to get that stuff. So I'm looking for guest speakers that are subject matter experts on whatever it is, reloading, or you might be into IDPA or USPSA or any of the defensive shooting sports. Would absolutely love to hear from you at Liberty Gun Rights Podcast at Proton.me, and let's work on getting you set up with a Zoom meeting and some speaking points, and you can be you can be part of the podcast, and you can help educate people about important things that they need to understand and do. All right. Thanks for listening to today's episode, and goodbye for now. That's all, folks.